Words, such an integral part of language. But what happens when we take simple words with simple definitions and ask people what they mean? These are questions for humanity. When were you happiest?
I was happiest. So, there's several times. I think it was diving off of Sipadan. That was an amazing experience.
I never actually sit there and think about, I can get giddy and I can be happy doing things, and they're momentary happies. Like visiting Disneyland or, watching a new episode of my show, or the smile on my husband's face when I make him a sandwich. There isn't like one overriding happy thing.
I feel like I have been happiest. I think I'll answer in my life, my happiest moment when I was alone was when I was standing on Second Beach, looking out at the sunrise. Would it have been the sunrise? Well, the sky getting light over the ocean. I can't swim, I'm terrified of the water. But I felt so incredibly happy. It was on the Washington coast. And it was cold. And the world was quiet except for the roar of the ocean. So there's just the ocean. And it felt like in that moment, absolutely anything and everything was not just possible, but actually happening right then. And there was no one else on the planet, but I wasn't afraid, and I wasn't lonely. And for just that moment, which was maybe 5 minutes, it was like I had died and time had ceased to exist, and everything was beginning and everything was ending, and I was very, very happy.
When I met this girl 2 years ago at the Kennydale Beach off of Lake Washington Boulevard in Renton, happiest I had ever been. Possibly one of the first moments I had ever been hit on. But came to an end somehow, though. Was only a summer romance after all.
I was happiest on this morning, and I can't tell you what year it was, but I was on vacation with my family, and my wife and I were sleeping on the pull-out couch in the cabin on the Washington State coast, and I woke up in the morning, and we're just in the living room, which does not sound very fancy, but I woke up in the morning and I sat up on the pull-out couch and I could see the ocean, and I had my family with me, and it was just like the most beautiful moment that I think I've had in my entire life.
I don't remember I'm not the type of person who remembers like any particular incident and thinks like, well, no, my parents would tell you that I was probably the most ecstatic when my parents got me a Voltron figure, or not figure, I guess a big giant plastic statue of it when I was in kindergarten. I don't remember it being that big a deal, but they would probably answer that. Otherwise, I would say, like major life moments, marriage, birth of children. They're standard answers, but they're also true.
Right now, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life because I'm still here, and it's still an adventure, and I still don't know what's going to happen next. But that's what the excitement is of life. When I think back in my life. I had happy moments, and I could, say happy moments, but the only reason why they were happy for me is because I experienced that moment. So this moment right now is the happiest moment I've had so far.
That's a really hard question. I mean, I'm happy right now. I'm happy with my life. I was happy as a child. I was really happy to raise my own children. I guess I'm at my happiest when I'm helping make other people happy. So I'm much happier giving gifts to other people than getting gifts myself. I'm happiest in the outdoors, feeling the wind in my face, hiking, backpacking, having good conversation with other people. I mean, life is just so full of wonderful things that I'm happy to be alive and happy to be doing things that make other people laugh and smile. So I could go on and on. But I mean, I love being happy, and usually that means me doing things that I know are making somebody else's life more enjoyable or more comfortable.
I would have to say, I'm always happy. There's no time when I'm the happiest. Every day I'm on earth is the happiest time.
Not too long ago, actually. It was last year. I was pretty happy back then. Mostly because at the time I was rooming with one of my best friends, so it was like one of those opportunities that I haven't had in a, like, usually it's one of those things that you wish you could do with like a best friend of yours, like go out, be roommates, and just have, like that adventure of being young and doing what you love. Yeah.
I've been happier since I remember. Even in my lowest times, even my saddest times. And even though in my personal life and my family, we went through a lot, and we still do. But we're still united, and we find happiness even in the darkest hours. We still find happiness, and I guess, not I guess, I'm very certain that I can find happiness anywhere, even with strangers.
A while back, I was in Venice, and it was in the middle of a rainstorm, and we danced through St. Mark's Square, and there was a thunderstorm going up above us, and they were playing New York, New York in one of the cafes, and I think that was one of the high points of my entire life, was just that moment, that I can still remember how I felt and how alive I felt at that moment, and I think that was probably one of my happiest moments. I mean, there's tons of moments where your children are born and stuff like that, but I think for a personal thing, it's when I felt the most alive, and that was the time I felt the most alive.
I feel like I was happiest back when I was like 5th, 6th, 7th grade. I don't know, I just felt chill. I was in my zone. And everything felt like it was going smoothly in sort of a way. I think it was just before before hormones started setting in.
When I achieved something that I really, really wanted. When I got accepted into the NYPIB program in 6th grade, or when I got to go to Universal Studios for my birthday, or when my cousin Mila was born. Mila.
When was I happiest? was when I met my best friend in 7th grade.
I was happiest, like, when I'm with my family, I'm the happiest. I think, like, I'm always usually happy if I'm, like, with my family or something, because they make me the happiest.
When I've got my, when I have my kids around me and I'm doing things that I enjoy doing and my kids are enjoying life, that's generally when I'm happiest.
The day I found out I was a father for the first time.
I think I was probably happiest when Veronica was born. And she has a couple older sisters, and I was happy for them too, but I actually got to spend time with Veronica where I didn't get to spend that much time with my other daughters. So I think I was happiest when she was born. I was able to do a lot of things with her I wasn't able to do with her other sisters. We've been able to do live stage performances together, film work together, have our ups and downs, have our laughs, have our cries. So yeah, she's been pretty important in my life.
I think I was happiest on camping trips with my family in our trailer. And there's one specific time where we went to Chelan and everything went wrong. Just, like, our air conditioner broke and we got, like, stuck in a mini hurricane. Like, there are so many things that went wrong with that poor trailer. And I'm type A. I'm trying to be more type B and more go with the flow, but deep down I'm pretty type A. So I was like, everything has to be perfect. It has to be like a movie. Like, we're going on a camping trip. It has to be like the stereotypical Fred Meyer commercial where they're all cute and happy. But, you know, that's not life. And it was so much fun because everything that went wrong could go wrong. There was a gas leak, so we had to, like, leave. But I think that was one of the times I was definitely the most happy because we were all together just in this awful situation that was just terrible, but it was so much fun. And, like, now we can look back on it and smile. Yeah. And again, it's with my family. Over spring break, we went to New York, London, and Paris, which was by far the best experience I've ever had culturally. I love culture, and in college I want to study abroad. I want to, you know, like, go out to the world and learn about different cultures and learn how we can work together. And I don't know, United Nations stuff sounds pretty cool, just working with other people. And, you know, different cultures are so fascinating because we're all people, but we're all so drastically different. That was amazing. My dad is a huge planner. He's pretty type A like me. So he planned everything out and we didn't get lost once. And I mean, that was a much more controlled version of happy. Those are two very separate experiences, but they both happened with my favorite people. And it was so much fun because I was exposed to so many different people. And I think Paris was actually my favorite because I was just dropped in something I had never done before. I, like, can fake my way through a French greeting, but other than that, I really don't know much French. So it was a crazy, awesome time because I was just, you know, absorbing as much as I possibly could. And when I got home, I kind of just, like, fell back and I was like, culture's amazing. Like, I was so full of just love and life and culture and just, like, a drive to, like, help people and, like, change the world. And I think that's when I was most happiest, when I was with my family and everything had gone wrong and we were all just dying together, and when I was just a happy, wonderful little sponge soaking up the world, hoping to change it.
I think every day. I think it's all about perception. You know, some people think that if they get something, they're going to be the happiest. If they accomplish something, they're going to be the happiest. But I think if we look at it from a different perspective of, I'm waking up, I'm still alive, I'm healthy, I have all my arms, I can walk, I can drive, I have a job, I make money. I mean, that is truly The happiness is being able to have that freedom to express who you are, what you have, and what you do with it. And I think every day I'm the happiest.
When I finally believed that I didn't have to die alone.
I don't know, I feel like I'm happiest right now. So like yesterday and the day before, now. There was a moment in the middle of night, in the middle of winter, several years ago, where I finally felt confident in my body's capabilities, and I would just let my body play as if I were a child again. And I climbed and I danced, and the air was freezing cold. But here I was, like outside of this museum, playing around on these random sculptures and structures, and I finally felt not that I was in control of my body, but that I could trust it to do what I wanted it to do. And that's not a sensation I get very often.
I've been happy many times. I would say my wedding day. I found somebody that loves me for me and all my quirks, and he's very supportive, and just seeing his face walking down the aisle made me really happy. His smile, his laugh makes me happy. Our life makes me happy. And our cat.
Last night, my eyes hurt. It's allergy season. So I had a compress on and I was laying on my stomach on the bed, and my beautiful wife came and tickled my back and made me feel better. I think that's the happiest moment I've had in recent history.
May 12th, 2018.
When Christopher was born, my son.
I was probably happiest when I knew everything was fine and all my ducks were in a row. I guess I'm working toward that same happiness now.
As of now, being 18, turning 19 this year, I would say I was happiest when maybe like in my, like when I was maybe 7 to 10. I'd say those are the years when I remember most fondly. And whatever memories I had when I was very young also stick out in my mind, because that was when I was like making my first memories of like my first Nintendo 64 games. But I think I was happiest back then because back then I didn't really, basically there was a kind of a rough patch in my family, and back then I wasn't really aware of that sort of thing, and both people involved just tried to make they both loved me. Not really knowing what was going on underneath the surface, I just had time to focus on being me, and I loved drawing. I like listened to music, I just played video games. I had school, of course, but I was doing pretty good in that. I didn't have to worry about finding a job or moving out in the near future. So maybe this will change. Maybe this will change in the future. But for now, I'm gonna say that was when that's when I've been happiest so far.
When I got my cats.
Well, I've always said I wanted to stay 27 for some reason. So something must have been going on in my life when I was 27 that made me extremely happy. This is very emotional, this part. Oh, I think there's been, once I got past some of the turmoil, I guess at the end of some turmoil is when I was the happiest.
Oh gosh, that is so hard to say. I have been happy so much of my life. I've had such a good life. As a child, believing in fairies and all of those things. That was a happy time. Then I got married, met my husband. That was happy. Then I had my babies. Oh my Lord, that was the happiest of everything. I thought that was the happiest it could be. And then suddenly I was a grandmother. And that was the top of the cake. It's, I don't know. I can't, there's so many. I have so many happinesses. I couldn't define it to one.